Okay, I'm back, y'all. The sound should be back. Y'all let me know. I'm going to try and move through this faster because I feel like Instagram is trying to play me. And so let's just pick up where we left off. So we were going over the metaphysical symbolism of Abel, which translates into breath or vanity, transitoriness, a breath, a vapor. Abel meaning breath, which places him in the element of air. And so spirit is really dealing with us as it relates to our communication and as it relates to how we understand the communication coming to us. Is the communication that we're taking in, is it double speak? Are you understanding that it's double speak? Are you able to read and to hear through the symbolism? Are you able to communicate through the symbolism? And so Abel deals with air. And so that's placing us and alerting us and letting us know that we are in fact in the element of or in the realm of Aquarius, in the age of Aquarius, right? And we also just came off of a full moon in Gemini, and Gemini is also dealing with our communication. How are we communicating with each other? How are we communicating with the world around us? And how are we taking in the communication that's coming forth? And so here again, spirit is alerting us of the lungs, okay? They're alerting us of the air and having effective communication and letting us know that we have no more time to be naive as it relates to the air element, as it relates to the communication coming forth, okay? Hi, my Shasha. I love you. Let's keep going. Abel represents the mental realm. And so here we see spirit taking us back to our minds. How are we dealing with our minds? How are we charging our minds? How are we preparing our minds to resurrect? Yesterday began the winter solstice. We know that the winter solstice is really dealing with the resurrection of the sun. Take our minds out of the realm of Christendom, take our minds out of the realm of Jesus, and really begin to understand what the message of Jesus was really trying to send forth, or what the message of Jesus hijacked as it relates to the planetary energies happening around us, okay? And so the Abel is dealing with the mental realm, okay? He represents not the spiritual mind, but Abel represents the mind that controls the animal functions, okay? So the animal nature, okay, of you, being overly concerned about what it is that you can get out of the world, being overly concerned and consumed with the emotions of the world, being overly consumed with the things that are happening around you, or the things that you want to accumulate, any of that, anything that represents the animal mind. And we're going to go deeper into the animal mind in a little bit, okay? And so Abel controls the animal functions. Abel was also a sheep raiser. And so here we see spirit is dealing with us as it relates to you being a sheeple. Are you a sheeple in this world? Are you operating as a sheep, meaning being able to be easily influenced, being able to be easily led, right? Or are you taking on the spirit of the goat, which is rebellious, okay? Which is bucking up because some shit don't make no sense. Spirit is moving us out of the realms of just moving through this world as sheeple. You're not a sheep. Spirit is bringing you back into what? The mind of Abel, which is the source of God. Okay, bringing you back and connecting you to the breath of life. Okay, let's keep going. The mental is more closely related to the spiritual consciousness than to the physical. And what represents the physical is Cain. And so this is about to get very, very interesting. And so here we see spirit is telling us that the mental mind, or the mental, is connected with our spiritual consciousness. And if we look at what spirit is really charging us to do right now, which is to ascend, not to ascend the body, to ascend the spirit, to ascend the breath, to ascend the mind, the sacrifice that we are now moving into and that we're walking away from right now is the sacrifice of the body. Spirit don't want your body. Spirit don't want your blood sacrifices. Spirit wants your mind. Spirit wants you to come back into harmony with your spiritual consciousness. What does consciousness mean? To be aware. Okay, it don't have to be as deep unless you make it deep. Are you aware of what's happening in your environment? Are you aware of the changes that are taking place in the body? And spirit is now charging us to come back online as it relates to the body. Do you feel the changes? Can you feel the changes? Can you hear the changes? When you are taking in foods that no longer resonate with the body, can you feel the rejection that comes forth when you take in something that you shouldn't be taking in. Many of you are not going to be able to eat the same ways that you used to eat because the body is resurrecting, because the body is ascending, the body is rising. And as it should be, because the planet is rising. The divine mother, as it relates to this planet, is rising. And so we must take the position and rise with us. Lest you fall away with the world that's collapsing, that no longer resonates. Okay, let's keep going. And so here we see Abel representing the mental that's related or connected to spiritual consciousness, and Cain represents the physical. Okay, so let's keep going. When we look at the etymology of breath, let's begin to go deeper into breath and what breath means. When we look at the etymology or the metaphysical symbolism of the breath, it translates into the inner life flow that pulsates through the whole body. And here we just got finished saying earlier that without the breath, the body means nothing. It means nothing. It is the breath that keeps the body in motion. Why? How do we know that? Because the breath also connects to spirit. The breath is spirit, right? And so in order for you to breathe life into the body, that means that the body can't exist without the breath. So you need them. You need one to make the other work. And so here we see breath being defined as the inner life flow that pulsates through the whole being. It goes on to say that the breathing of the manifest man corresponds to the inspiration of the spiritual man. I'm going to read that again. The breathing of the manifest man corresponds to the inspiration of the spiritual man, right? And so the manifested man is only manifested on this realm of existence because of his spiritual nature. So that tells you that in everything, in every place, spirit is operating. That means that you can't take spirit away from man. You can't disconnect spirit from man. Without spirit, the physical man cannot manifest. You need them both in order to be in harmony and as one. Okay? When we look at what inspiration means the inbreeding of spirit. The breath of God infused into man, endowing him with super light and life. Do y'all hear that? I'm going to read it again. Inspiration translates into the inbreathing of spirit, the breath of God infused into man, endowing him with super light and super life. So without the inspiration of man, okay, without the inspiration of spirit, nothing has animated the body. It's nothing. You need something to endow the body. What endows the body? Spirit. What is spirit? Inspiration. Right? That's the only reason why we're here. Because we inspired ourselves. We inspired these vessels so much so that we manifested here into the physical. Okay? Let's keep going. When any man is inspired with high ideas, he breathes into his nostrils the breath of life. When any man is inspired with high ideas, and I'm going to tell you how that makes sense. It makes sense because Abel translates into the mental. As the mind goes, as the head flows, so shall the body follow. So that means that you need something to govern and direct the body, right? That means that you need something to govern and direct your actions. You need something to govern and direct your emotions. You need something to govern and direct your visions. And when man is inspired with high ideas, what high ideas are you feeding the body? What high ideas are you feeding the mind in order to keep the breath of life flowing? Many of you are physical beings walking, but you are dead as it relates to the spirit, because you are allowing outside things and outside people to give you ideas that doesn't resonate with the body. And our spirit is charging us to begin to take our minds back, in order to inspire high ideas, which automatically allows you to breathe in the breath of life. When I think for myself, I elevate myself. When I elevate my thoughts, I elevate my lungs. When I elevate my lungs, I elevate the breath of life that is pulsating throughout this whole being. Many of you are brain dead. Many people that are operating in this realm of existence right now are walking zombies because they don't think for themselves. Anybody can give a direction to you and you're going to go ahead and follow it. But at no point do you ever charge the spirit by the spirit. Whose breath is coming into you that you are taking in and saying that this is mine? Or are you picking the breath apart? When we say try the spirit by the spirit, that means I'm trying my breath of life by your breath of life. And if your breath of life doesn't resonate with me, if your breath of life is not sparking high ideas, encouraging me to be who I am as the individual, then I have to reject it. And many of you are afraid to reject another person's breath because of the esteem that it gives you, because of the popularity that it gives you, because of the money that it puts into your pockets, because of the opportunities that it gives you. But you continuing to take in and to accumulate, you can almost look at it, and I'm going to liken it to carbon dioxide, because when you take in too much carbon dioxide, you essentially stifle the oxygen that's flowing through your own bodies. So when you continue to take in carbon dioxide and you're not fusing the carbon dioxide that you're taking into the body with the oxygen that's living in your body, you are essentially causing yourself to suffocate. And so many of you are living in an existence that has suffocated you, that is downright suffocating you. You can't speak the way that you want to speak. You can't think the way that you want to think. You can't operate in the realms that you want to operate in because you're too concerned with somebody judging you. Sacrifice the mind and the body will follow. Sacrifice the mind, sacrifice the breath, sacrifice the spirit, and the body will follow. Does this make sense? Let's keep going. When we look at the breath of God, it translates into, or it tells us, that which became the soul of man manifested. When we look at manifestation or manifest, it translates into the manifestation of a true idea. So the manifestation of truth. What is truth? What does nature say? What are the planetary energies that not only exist with you as the individual, but also the planetary energies that are happening for us as the collective? What is the truth that's coming forth? Not the truth of the media, not the truth of your governments, not the truth of your politicians, not the truth of your celebrities. What is the truth saying to you? And that is what will manifest. So manifestation is the materialization of true ideas, the coming forth into visibility of that which has been affirmed, the appearance of an idea. So what high ideas are you manifesting onto this realm? The only high ideas that we should be manifesting at this time is the high ideas of ascension. And that is the message that Aaliyah is coming to bring us. The idea and the true ideas of the lungs. The truth of the alchemical process that's taking place in each and every one of us. And it begins with the breath of life. And so if you find yourself going through moments of sickness and ailment, especially as it relates to the lungs, understand that you are in the middle of an ascension. And if you make it to the other side of the ascension, you can liken yourself to coming and going through the same experience that Jesus went through, which is the resurrection. And we know this to be true because we are now in the winter solstice. And so we know that the sun is going through the same process, the process of resurrection. Not a man that went out into the world, they hung him on a cross, they put him inside of a stone, and when they came back and looking for him, he was not there. We're not talking about the physical man. We're talking about you, the body. Those who make it on the other side of ascension. The spirit would have resurrected. And so if the spirit resurrected, when people go back looking for the same body of you, they're not going to find you. Because the spirit of you has resurrected. And so if those same people they go back looking for you and they find the same being, that tells you everything that you need to know. Your actions are the same. Your intentions are the same. Your intent is the same. The way that you think is the same. The way you party is the same. Your friends that you had 10 years ago are the same. And all they're interested in is smoking, drinking, partying, twerking, making TikTok videos, finding the best pictures and the most popular content for social media. Yet nobody is concerned with ascension. And so again, Aaliyah is bringing the message of ascension via the weekend, whose first name translates into Abel, which translates into breath, or the source of God. And so they're bringing us the reminder that everybody out here looking for God, but won't nobody look in the mirror. We all out here looking for the actions of God, but nobody won't look at the actions of the self. Everybody out here looking for the visions and the blessings of God, but nobody is willing to look at the actions of the being and the high ideas or the low ideas that's being birthed from you. Let's keep going. So the breath of God, which became the soul of man manifested, includes all of your emotions and the energies that move in and through the organism. And this organism is designated as feminine. And so this validates again for me that the Divine Mother is walking and is risen on this planet. And so if you need to come into harmony with anything, you need to come into the harmony with the Trinity. Who is the Trinity? Not the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The original Trinity is the Mother, the Maiden, and Time, which is the crone. The Mother, the Maiden, and the crone, which is the Mother, the Maiden, and Time. And the Divine Mother is coming to say the time is up. Time is up on your actions. Time is up on your understandings. Time is up on your lack of wanting to know what's happening on this planet is going to happen with or without you. Okay? The breath of life is going to be snatched out of the body with or without you. The beings that are walking this planet is going to move into ascension with or without you. You make the decision on if you're going to prepare the body for resurrection. If you're going to prepare the breath, prepare the lungs for resurrection. Okay? So, the breath of God also deals with the psyche. So let's look at the etymology of psyche. The psyche is the name that describes the subtle essence that flows in and out of the great heart center. And so now Spirit is taking us from the breath to the mind and now to the heart. And these are going to be the places where we begin to see Spirit begin to affect the beings that are walking on this planet. Right? And what Spirit is really charging us to begin to deal with the heart. Because if those of you who followed us through our first season of Art of Ritual, you know that we had an episode that was titled Heart Matters. And during that episode, Spirit really began to deal with us as it related to the heart. What's going into the heart, what's coming out of the heart. But more than that, what the heart deals with as it related to the psyche or related to the mind. Okay? And if we look at what the heart deals with as it relates to the body, the heart deals with the subconscious. Right? And so the subconscious is where the physical world crystallizes or materializes around you. And so if someone would say to me, how do I know the state of my heart? Look at the state of the world that you've created. If someone was to ask me, what is the state of the heart as it relates to the collective? Look at the state of the world that's crystallizing around us. What does the subconscious of the planet look like? Look at the world around you. What does the subconscious of the person look like? Look at the actions that are materializing around you. Look at the people that you are allowing to come in to affect your heart space. Look at the things that you're taking on that's affecting the heart space. If you find yourself dealing with a lot of heart palpitations, with a lot of ailments as it relates to the heart, that's your first indication that you need to deal with your subconscious. What are you holding on to that you need to let go of? What are you still bitter about? What grudges are you still not being willing enough to let go of? What are you still not being willing to forgive your mother or your father for? Okay? What are you not being willing to let go of as it relates to religion? Because Spirit is moving us from the idea of religion and moving us into the understanding of spirituality. And spirituality has nothing to do with crystals. It has nothing to do with tarot cards. It has nothing to do with people lecturing. Spirituality has everything to do with the state of the body, with the state of the mind. What is your spiritual practice looking like when you have none of these things? What does the spiritual nature look like when you have nobody encouraging you and telling you to keep going? What does it look like? What does your spiritual nature look like when you don't have a candle to light and you don't have a card to pull and you don't have an astrology sign to understand or an astrology report to read or a tarot reader to tell you what's happening in your own life when you should be able to say what's happening in your own life? Because you're aware of your consciousness. To be conscious is to be aware. It ain't that deep. What are you aware of? And what are you turning a blind eye to? Search the heart space, search the subconscious. Heal the heart space, heal the subconscious, which then allows you to materialize the conscious world, the physical realm. Right? Let's keep going. So the psyche is the subtle essence that flows in and out of the great heart center. The name psyche in Greek mythology means breath, or it means life. So we're going back to Abel. We see Spirit taking us back to the lungs. So Spirit is really charging us to really begin to deal with our lungs. What is the health of your lungs? Are you emitting oxygen and carbon dioxide harmoniously? Understand that the air pressure on this planet is about to change, and it is changing. And so we have to also understand that we have to give our bodies enough time to adjust to the air pressure changing. And as the air pressure changes on this planet, the lungs of the beings are going to change. And so Spirit is charging you to rest your heart center, to rest your lungs. Find different exercises that charges you to expand the lungs. Okay? Find different exercise. Begin to incorporate different teas or different tinctures that deal directly with the lungs. 2 of them are echinacea. Another one of them is elderberry, right, babe, that deals with the lungs. Elecampane is another one that deals with the lungs. Begin to incorporate things into your daily regimen that is going to help you to strengthen the lungs, because you don't want to be caught out here that as the frequency and the pressure and the air pressure on this planet changes, that it takes you out because you didn't prepare the body to resurrect or to rise or to ascend. The first thing that's going to ascend as it relates to the body is the lungs. The second thing is the mind, because the lung is connected to the brain. And then the brain is connected to the heart. Okay? So the psyche is represented as one of the 3 daughters of the king. What are the 3 daughters? It's the Trinity as far as I'm concerned. The mother, the maiden, and time. The mother, the maiden, and the daughter. Okay? So we have to begin to deal with the divine mother. Understanding our place as it relates to the divine mother. And understanding that we don't have a lot of time to do it. You don't have as much time as you think you have. Things are speeding up in order to allow us to miss a lot of the bullshit that's coming in to poison the ascension. Let's keep going. So the psyche is represented as one of the three daughters, or as one of the three daughters of the king. And so now let's look at what those three daughters are. The three daughters of the king represents the spirit, the soul, and the body. The three daughters that are coming back into harmony with itself is the spirit, the soul, and the body. What is your spirit looking like? How is your soul elevating? And what is it charging the body to do? What actions is it charging the body to do? We are not going to be able to consume the way that we used to consume. In fact, a lot of the things that we consumed are about to be snatched away. We've been saying it for almost 5 years to prepare, to get your affairs in order. Even if you have to begin to eliminate how many meals you take in on from day to day. Even if you have to begin to charge yourself to fast, even though you wouldn't normally, but begin to get in the habit of withholding the body from outside substances that we don't need anyway. Begin to eliminate the alcohol out of the body. If you are a smoker, begin to eliminate the smoking out of your habits. And I can say that because Spirit really was dealing with me as it related to how I consume marijuana, and the one way in which we consumed it here in my household was smoking it. But we know that if you continue to take in smoke on a daily basis, I guarantee you that your lungs are screaming. Most of all, because as you take in the air gets trapped right here in the chest. It stays right here before it moves through the body. And many of you who smoke, it don't even move. It stays right here trapped in the chest. And what's here? The heart space. This is the heart chakra. And this is also where your lungs are. So if we are restricting, if we are taking in a substance like smoke that is restricting the body, then that's your first sign that the smoke is restricting the lungs. And if the lungs is being restricted, then that means that the oxygen is not making it to the places that it needs to make it, mainly to the mind. It's not making it there because it's trapped. And so if you are a heavy smoker, really begin to wean yourself. Find different ways to consume your substances. Okay? If you're not consuming alcohol as it relates to spiritual purposes, we really have to really begin to rethink it, because it's restricting the body. And as the body elevates and ascends, the things that used to be compatible with the body are no longer compatible. And so we have to really become serious about eliminating it. Okay? And if we begin to eliminate it from the mind, from the psyche, then that means that we eliminate it from the body. That means that you don't have to force the body to do something that the mind was never ready for. If you prepare the mind and the psyche, the body will follow. Because as the head goes, so shall the body go. So wherever the mind is wherever the body will go. Okay? So the three daughters of the king represents the spirit, the soul, and the body. The psyche is also the soul and its many earthly experiences and all of your failures and all of your successes. So Spirit is dealing with us as it relates to our experiences. What experiences are you holding on to? What experiences are you not willing to let go of? What failures have you not gotten over? And can you release those things? What successes have you accomplished but you haven't given yourself credit for? Okay? What successes are you accumulating that you haven't taken the time to appreciate? Okay? So let's move into air. Air translates into the defect or the deific of the breath of God. When we look at deific translates into deity. And so here I keep telling y'all, and I have been saying it and I will continue to say it. There is no other God before you. The reason why the Bible said that I am a jealous God and thou shalt have no other gods before me is because you shouldn't have been worshiping nothing outside of you. The gods that you're looking for, the deities that you're looking for are already within you. They're you. So the God that you're looking for is for the self. Everybody looking for God, but don't nobody want to look in the mirror. I remember a dream that I had when I had the privilege of walking with many of the deities that we know about as it relates to this land. During my awakened rest, I had the privilege of walking with many of the deities that came before us. One in particular who really took me off to the side and really began to speak with me was the deity, that of Kali Ma, of Jama Kali. And in speaking to Jama Kali, Kali let me know very clearly that it is not our job to affirm, to become like, to worship, to demystify, to talk down on, to attract the way that they did, to speak in the ways that they spoke, to adorn ourselves the way that they did. It is our job to understand that we are that. So what deity are you going to be walking this planet? Who is the deity that you're showing up every time that you wake up and the breath of life flows back into the body? What legacy are you leaving behind as the God that you are, as the goddess that you are? Or are you still trying to hijack a God or a deity that came before you? Spirit is saying time is up. It's time for us to understand our existence. It's time for us to understand the source of God that we are. It's time for us to understand the breath that is pulsating through each and every one of us individually. It's not your job to be out here trying to be like somebody else, to dress like somebody else, to speak or to have knowledge the way somebody else had it. It's your job to understand what you as the deity came down here to do and to speak like and to look like and to think like. And it's not going to look like me. It's not going to look like your mother. Because a lot of our parents, a lot of our family members, they've forgotten who God was. So how are you trying to get them to be the example of how you are supposed to lead your life when they're the walking dead? If you are on this side of reality, that means that you have resurrected to the God that you are. And the only way for you to go back to sleep is for you to rock yourself back to sleep. Okay? So air translates into the deific breath of life. It symbolizes a purifying, vitalizing power that revives and makes us alive. So without breath, without communication, without the active use of our lungs, you are dead. So many of you are trapped inside of the body because the element of air has not activated within you. The breath of air is stagnated within you. It's not moving. You haven't prepared the body to function along with it. You are the walking dead. Sure, you're animated. Sure, you're able to have meaningless conversations. Sure, you're able to blindly follow in religion, but the body is dead. The breath of life is not animated. It's not activated within you. Okay? So the air translates into the power that revives and makes the revitalizing power that revives and makes alive. So if you find yourself walking in the realms of the walking dead, then you need to go out and begin to activate the lungs. Begin saying what needs to be said, even if it's unpopular. Begin telling yourself the truths that you know that the body needs to hear in order for you to die to the version of yourself that's no longer serving you. You need to activate the element of air. Begin to listen to conversations and communications that are coming forth that essentially put a bad taste in your mouth, but you know you need to hear. It's that simple. Begin to activate the breath, the element of air around you. Go sit outside. Sit in the sun. Okay? And if you live in places where the sun is not visible, speak to the air and command the clouds to move. It's possible. We used to do it all the time when we were back in Jersey before we moved here into Arizona. And if you live in a place where the sun is restricted or the air is restricted, get up and move because Spirit told you to do so 2 years ago. What you waiting for? Make movement in order to activate the element of air. Okay, so that was the first part of his name, which was able. Let's move into the second part of his name, which translates into the Makakoran. Makakoran. I may be saying that wrong. Forgive me if I am. But Makakoran. And his middle name translates into, we're speaking about the weekend, everybody. His middle name translates into royal or respected elite. And this tells me that one, he's operating with the false elite that's currently in power, but have no power. So not only is he a respected elite, which is why he's carrying out this mission of using the essence of Aaliyah, but is also a charge to understand who's royal. Who's royal around you, royal enough to exist with you? Have you activated the royalty within? Are you waking up and seeing yourself royal? You're looking for elites. We see false versions of elite, of what one will call an elite, but you are the elite. You are the elect. You are that. And it's time for us to begin to take our respected positions. Next, his last name, which is called Tesfaye, is of Ethiopian origin. And it is an Abrahamic expression translating into my hope. What are you hoping for? Spirit is really charging us to have faith in the things that you're hoping for. To have faith in the world that is manifesting around you, even though we're watching one collapse simultaneously. Okay? So his middle name, Tesfaye, translates into hope. When we look at the metaphysical definition of hope, it symbolizes faith. What is your faith looking like? What are you putting your faith in? Especially right now. Are you putting your faith in governments that don't have your best interests at heart? Are you putting your faith in currencies that at the end of the day not going to serve you anyway? Sure, secure yourself, put the necessary provisions into place the way that you need to, but understand that it's not going to save you. Understand that it's not going to save your existence. Okay? Understand that we down here playing a game. And as long as you understand that we down here playing the game and that right now the game is changing, cool. But if you are still living in this disillusion, waiting for the world to go back to the way it was, I'm scared for you. I'm genuinely scared for you because you're not activating your godhood. You're not willfully choosing your ascension. You're choosing death. And there's nothing wrong with death, but at least die with the purpose. Die with the understanding. Die with a different perception that you didn't have when you first incarnated here. Die with the faith and the belief and the hope and the self and not in the things outside of you. Okay? It goes on to say that hope is a quality of the mind. Hope is a quality of the mind. It is a sense of the mind because it is subjected to time. So that means if our hope is subjected to time, then at any time it could change. And it is changing. It's changing actively. And so we must then come online in order to understand what time it is. And the time that it is time to ascend. And the time that is not is no longer time for foolish things or foolish understandings. Okay? When we look at the etymology of faith or the metaphysical symbolism of faith, faith translates into, or faith is a certain knowledge that our good is ours right now. You don't have to wait for shit to get good. You just have to understand that it's already good. Just the fact that you're here on this side of things, having a new perception, understanding that you died to every version of yourself that was no longer good, that was no longer serving you. Understand that you are already good. You don't want for nothing. You don't need for nothing. You don't have to get to the good. You have to understand that you're already standing in the good of things. Every time that you wake up and the breath of life flows back into the body, you are good. Every time that you are able to think on behalf of yourself, for yourself, you are good. Every time that you wake up and you go to the refrigerator and it's full, or you go to your cabinets and it's full, you are already good. When you are able to look at the faces of your children or the faces of your family, you are good. And if you are not good, then that means that you need to change the mind. You need to change the perception on what you think good is. Good is not always having money in the bank, because there's a lot of people out here right now that got money and they miserable. So that tells you that money don't mean nothing. It doesn't even change your existence. It changes what you're able to afford in your existence. And even the things that you are affording and that you're able to afford will create the prison around you because of your perception. So if we can change the perception and get a hold of the mind, everything else is good. Because you have the understanding that the mind is all. That the mind is what creates the world around you. And so at any time, the things that you have hope in and the things that you have faith in are subjected to change. And change is the only thing that's constant. Change is the only thing, is one of the greatest gifts that we all have walking this plane of existence, is the ability to change, to metamorph, to go through a metamorphosis, to wake up today and be one person, and by the time we get to the next day, you're a completely different being. Okay? So faith goes beyond time and space. Okay? So get a hold of your faith now so that it doesn't limit you as you float through time, and as you float through space, and as you float in and out of every existence that you feel that you need to be into. Get a hold of your faith now, trusting that you're always good, no matter where you go, no matter where you transition to, whether it be in life or whether it be in death. Okay? Now that we've gone through the weekend's full name, the message of this art of ritual on today is really speaking to the breath of life, right? And we understand that when Aaliyah came the first time and gave us her first message, she was dealing with us as it relates to our ascension and letting us know that ascension is here. It's not coming. We're already standing in it. Okay? If you don't see ascension happening, it's because your perception is still tied to a world that's gone. Okay? And so now that we are in the middle of an ascension, we now have beings that are coming forth in order to poison the ascension that's taking place. That's why we have to come back into harmony with our lungs, why we have to come back into harmony with the breath of life, with the source of God. Who is the source of God? You are. Every being that's on this live right now. I am. My wife, our animals, okay? My family members, my friends, my sister tribe, okay? We are the source of God in our own individual realities. And so now that our individual realities and our collective realities are ascending, now we have beings that are coming into play right now to try and poison your ascension. Who are you allowing to poison your ascension? Who are you allowing to get in the way of your ascension? One of the ways in which you will poison your ascension is by taking into foreign medicines that you know don't belong in the body. By taking in foreign medicines that you know aren't even conducive to the body. That weren't even created for the body to operate. Now, when we look at the etymology of poison, poison translates into poisoning the mind through manipulation, madness, and vengeance. And that's all we see happening right now. Us as a collective, we're going to really begin to see an uptick in the manipulation of the people, in the manipulation of the bodies, in the manipulation of the perception, thinking that we're looking at one thing that we're not, and the manipulation of what we're hearing, thinking that they're saying something to us that we're not. Bring your senses online in order for you to differentiate and to weed out what is being said to you in this season. So poison translates into poisoning the mind through manipulation, madness, and vengeance. And so what you guys can expect to see, especially as we come into 2021, is the people, the collective, start to go mad. Just like the bird box. There was an invisible substance or an invisible world that was taking place that only certain people could see. It wasn't affecting everybody, but it was affecting a good amount of the world. But if you look at Sandra Bullock's character, she had to wear a blindfold over her eyes in order for her to see what was happening. And so for many of you, you need to cover your physical eyes. You need to cover your physical eyes in order for your spiritual one to come online. In order for you to see the madness and the vengeance that's taking place not only in your family dynamics, not only in your friendship dynamics, but in the dynamics of us as it relates to the collective. And so we're going to begin to see a lot of scenarios around vengeance and people going and taking their vengeance. We're going to see a lot of vengeful acts, but we're going to see more than that madness, people going mad, people going crazy with no type of understanding or reasons as to why, because the frequency of the planet is changing and not every being is going to come online with the changing of the frequency. Okay? The etymology of poison translates into a deadly potion or substance spiritually corrupting ideas with evil intentions. And so this foreign liquid that people are taking into their bodies is going to do just that. Corrupt the body spiritually. Corrupt the mind spiritually. And is going to then plant evil intentions. How are we going to see the evil intentions manifest? Neighbor against neighbor. Friend against friend. You didn't take this poison inside of your body, and so therefore you're not safe. And it's not the beings that are having this communication, it's the poison that's operating and communicating on behalf of them. Okay? So poison also translates into a drink. Be mindful of what you drink in this season. Be mindful of what you are taking into your bodies in this season. So poison translates into a drink, especially a medicinal drink. So don't be surprised if we see this liquid substance be turned into something that people are going to be able to drink now. And this is the manipulation. Making it so that people think that the solution is safer because you no longer have to inject it through a needle. You then now can drink it. So don't be surprised if we see this poison now be manufactured and given back to the population in the form of you being able to just drink it, put it in your juice, put it in your water. Be mindful of the water that you drink. Poison is going to start being filtered into the waters, and those waters are going to be affected in certain communities. Okay? So poison translates into a drink, especially a medicinal drink. The more unusual Indo-European word for poison is represented in the English language as a virus. As a virus. Poison translates into a virus. What do we see happening right now as it relates to the collective? An ongoing manufactured virus. This virus, especially as we transition into 2022, we're going to see more cases really surrounding the lungs. Even more so. Even more respiratory issues. Even more respiratory deaths. Asphyxiation. People dropping dead where they are. This is the poison that's being sent out. And that's why Spirit is really charging us right now to come online as it relates to the lungs. To come online with understanding that the breath of life is all that we have. And so if we don't have control over the breath of life, you are welcoming and introducing death in everywhere that you go through the form of a virus. And so in order for you to combat the virus, you must ascend. You must elevate the breath of life. You must activate the lungs. You must bring the heart chakra online. You must begin to get your heart space in order. When we look at the etymology of ascension, ascension translates into a rising, to mount, to ascend, going up. It's an action going up. And then the last thing that I want to hit before we close is where spirit is transitioning us as it relates to the three minds. Spirit is taking us from the somatic mind, which translates into the animal mind. Earlier we learned that as we went deeper into the etymology of able, it translated into control over the animal functions. And so us being able, spirit is bringing us from operating in a somatic mind, which is the animal mind shared by all mammals. Okay, this is your embodied intelligence, knowing yourself and knowing the world through feelings, through nonverbal awareness, and through emotions. So spirit is charging us to begin to learn how to read the world past the surface, understanding symbology, understanding what people are saying when they are double speaking, understanding what double speak is. So spirit is moving us from the somatic mind, moving us through the cognitive mind translating into the conscious mind in the head. It uses verbal descriptions and symbols to represent the self and the world in terms of images, maps, plans, meetings, beliefs, and possibilities. We have to come out of the cognitive mind in order for us to understand symbology. We have to stop defining ourselves by the cognitive mind, which is you defining yourself by by the definitions that the outside world is giving you. Who do you say that you are? Okay? The cognitive mind, it thinks in terms of the narrative and the story of sequence, okay, and values. What are you valuing? What story are you telling yourself on a daily basis? The cognitive mind has the potential to see the world from many different perspectives and with many different values, even though the cognitive mind gets stuck in mainly one or two experiences. This is why spirit is moving us from these two minds. So we're going from the somatic mind into the cognitive mind in order for us to arrive at the filled mind. The filled mind translates into the greatest semistic or systematic intelligence that is operating all around us. Many fields can be operating around us at any given moment, be it culture, family, personal history, political, and so on. You may be absorbed in the field of your family trance, or sense a negative field as it relates to business, or be absorbed in a zone of creative flow. Spirit is taking us through all of these minds in order to move us to spiritual intelligence. What is spiritual intelligence? Breath. Spirit is taking us from the physical man and moving us into the spirit of things, taking you from being physical back into being spirit. And spirit is in everything, but spirit needs a system set up before it in order to know how to move and how to operate. And so spirit is really charging us to deal with our minds, to deal with your somatic mind, to deal with your cognitive mind, and to deal with your field mind. Okay? In order for your ascension to happen effortlessly, get a hold of your mind, get a hold of your lungs, and get a hold of your heart space. Pay attention to everything that is happening in this season. Pay attention to the communication that is happening in this season, and get a hold of your sacrifice. We are not sacrificing the body. We are sacrificing the mind or the mental or the spirit. And if you sacrifice the physical over the spirit, you will be trapped inside of your body, operating in the same existence over and over and over again. And your ascension goes past the body. So that means that you have to relinquish the body in order for you to operate in the things of spirit. So the sacrifice that spirit is asking for us as it relates to our ascension is the sacrifice of your mental, the sacrifice of your spirit, over the sacrifice of the physical, over the sacrifice of the blood rituals. Spirit is no longer honoring your blood sacrifices. You can keep it, because spirit wants you to leave its creation alone and focus on the creation of the self. Everything that we ever needed as related to sacrifice, we already had it. But the sacrifice that spirit is asking for us in exchange for your ascension is the sacrifice of your minds, the sacrifice of your spiritual consciousness. We are out of the season of Cain, which is the physical. And we are moving into the season of Abel, which is spiritual consciousness, which is the mental, which is the element of air. And so this is where I leave you. And I truly hope that you all were able to take something away as it related to this art of ritual, the poisoned ascension. And I truly hope that you all really become serious about what the poison that you are allowing to infiltrate into your existence. Be able to identify it in order for you to get rid of it. And to work on your lung capacity and to pay attention to the communication that's going to start coming forth as it relates to the lungs and as it relates to ailments concerning the lungs. Be very mindful that the air pressure on this planet is going to change, which is in turn going to change your lung functions. So put things in place in order to secure and to protect your lungs as we move through this ascension. And I thank you all for joining me. I encourage you all to lift up the name of Aaliyah on today and to thank her again for such a timely message that is not only a message but a warning that your ascension is attempted to be infiltrated via a poison, via a virus. And you have time to get a hold of this virus before it overtakes the lungs, before it overtakes the breath of life, before it overtakes the source of God, of the God that you are. And I thank each and every one of you for joining me. If you feel free to leave a comment once this is done or to share with someone that you know really needs it, I encourage you to do so. And I truly thank you all for joining me here at the sanctuary. I want to make sure I don't miss any of your comments before I hop off. Sha says it's Capricorn season. And Capricorn season has always been about rebellion. Do this in remembrance of me, Ashe. My sister Jazz says I'm talking right, and so I give thanks for that. Young Tiano, she says that I've been moving. She said I've been so moved to work with the breath, and this is your confirmation. Ashe, my sister, get on that. Getting on working with the breath. I don't care what it is. And if you have a hard time getting in the position to work on the breath and to work on the lungs, begin to connect with other people that can illuminate you in order for you to begin to understand the importance of where we are going, guys. That your ascension is predicated on your breath. Your ascension is going to be predicated on your lungs. Okay? And so I love y'all, and I thank y'all for joining me always. Remember, I will see you guys on the 26th for our official installment and for our official beginning of season 2 of Art of Ritual, titled The Betrayal of Medusa, Head of Serpents. I'm so excited about this first episode of season 2 of Art of Ritual, and I truly look forward to seeing you all. If you guys plan on joining me in Ritual for the episode 1 of our Art of Ritual season 2, I encourage you guys to pick up your Dead Work Spiritual Bath. And I can't remember what else was on the list, but I think it was just the Dead Work Spiritual Bath. And it may have been the blood water, but if I'm wrong, it's posted on our page, so make sure that you guys go over to the post to find out what you're going to need for Ritual. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the 26th, and I thank y'all for joining me again. Until next time, family, peace.